You just got the promotion, or finished the project, or hit the goal you've been chasing for 2 years. And someone says, "Hey, we should celebrate." And something in you immediately goes, "Weird." You smile, wave it off, say something like, "Oh, it's not a big deal," or "I just got lucky." And then you change the subject as fast as humanly possible. Meanwhile, inside, there's this quiet, restless hum that won't quite let you feel the thing you worked so hard to feel. Sound familiar? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's someone you know who deflects every compliment like it's a penalty kick and they're a professional goalkeeper. Either way, there's a whole psychology hiding underneath that reflex, and it's more layered, more interesting, and honestly more common than most people realize. Today, we're going to pull it apart. By the end, you might understand yourself, or someone you love, in a way you didn't expect. Let's start with the type that probably comes to mind first. Picture this. Someone aces a difficult exam, and when their friends erupt in congratulations, they immediately say, "The test was probably just easy this time." Or they land a huge client, and their first instinct is to worry about whether they can actually deliver. This is the fraud whisperer, and the running from something specific, the terror of being found out. Psychologists call it imposter syndrome, and it's almost elegant in its cruelty. The better you do, the more convinced you become that you don't actually deserve it, that your success is a clerical error the universe hasn't corrected yet. Celebrating feels like pressing your luck, like standing up too tall in a thunderstorm. The mechanism here is fascinating. High achievers, paradoxically, often attribute their wins to external factors, luck, timing, other people, while internalizing their failures completely. So the win doesn't feel like theirs to celebrate. It feels borrowed, temporary. Celebrating it out loud would just be announcing a lie. Does that land for you? Do you find yourself already writing the counter-narrative to your own wins before the ink is even dry? Then there's a different kind of person. Quieter, more internal. They celebrate, they just do it alone, at 11 p.m., maybe with a cup of tea, maybe with a small nod to themselves in the mirror. Publicly? Absolutely not. This is the private celebrant, and their psychology is less about fear and more about identity. They grew up in environments, families, cultures, communities, where outward displays of pride were subtly discouraged. Don't get too big for your boots. Don't brag. Be humble. The lesson got absorbed so completely that celebrating even quietly around others feels like a moral violation. It's not that they don't feel joy, they feel it deeply. They just learned, somewhere along the way, that sharing it makes them dangerous, too much, too loud, too proud. The psychological mechanism here is conditioned emotional suppression. The nervous system learned to associate public celebration with a threat, disapproval, envy, social exile. So now the celebration gets privatized, shrunk, hidden. If you recognize this one, ask yourself who taught you that your wins were safest kept quiet. But here's the twist. Some people avoid celebrating not because they feel like frauds, and not because of social conditioning, but because winning scares them more than losing. Stay with me here. Imagine someone who worked incredibly hard toward a goal, and then they get there. And instead of relief or joy, they feel hollow, anxious. Almost immediately they start asking, "What now?" This is the summit avoider, and they've unconsciously figured out something uncomfortable. As long as you're striving, you have direction, a destination, meaning. But the moment you arrive, and celebrate arriving, that scaffolding collapses, the goal is gone, and they're left with a terrifying open space. This connects to what psychologists call arrival fallacy, the gap between what we expect reaching a milestone to feel like and what it actually feels like. The summit avoider has been burned before. They celebrated, felt the hollow, and decided better not to acknowledge the peak at all. Better to immediately start climbing the next one. Celebration for them is a dangerous pause, a reminder of emptiness. Does your restlessness after success feel strangely familiar right now? Another profile that tends to fly under the radar, the superstitious self-editor. You might know one, the person who refuses to jinx it, who won't post about good news until it's completely finalized, sealed, notarized, and delivered by a certified courier, who talks about potential wins in hushed tones as if the universe is eavesdropping and will snatch it back the moment someone gets excited. This is magical thinking, technically, the belief that internal states and external events are causally linked in ways they objectively aren't. But here's what's interesting. It often develops in people who experienced significant unpredictability growing up. If joy was consistently followed by loss, if good things reliably collapsed, the psyche learns to protect itself by not fully enjoying the good things. Don't celebrate too soon. Don't let your guard down, because hope is expensive, and you've paid that bill before. The superstition isn't irrational, really. It's a scar tissue response to a life that taught you celebration leads to disappointment. And finally, perhaps the most quietly painful type, the guilt carrier. This person achieved something real, something genuinely impressive, but they can't enjoy it because someone they love didn't. A friend who wanted the same job, a sibling who tried the same goal and failed, a version of their past self who struggled for years without recognition. Celebrating feels disloyal, like standing in the spotlight while someone they care about is still in the dark. The psychological architecture here involves survivor's guilt applied to success. The brain registers one person's gain as another's loss, even when that's not how reality works. And so the win gets muted, minimized, offered back to the room with apologies tucked inside it. The tragedy is that this impulse comes from empathy, from genuine care, but it ends up quietly punishing the very person who earned the thing. So, which one are you? The fraud who's convinced luck will run out? The private celebrant who learned that joy should be whispered? The summit avoider who fears the hollow feeling more than the climb? The superstitious self-editor holding their breath just in case? Or the guilt carrier who can't stand in their own light without checking who's left in the shadow? Most of us, if we're honest, carry a little bit of more than one. And the reason this matters, the reason it's worth actually looking at, is that the wins you don't celebrate don't fully register. They don't refuel you. They don't build the sense of self that carries you through the next hard stretch. Constantly moving past your own milestones without acknowledgement is like running a marathon and never crossing the finish line. Eventually, you just stop knowing why you're running. So here's what I'll leave you with. What's one win, recent, old, large, embarrassingly small, that you never really let yourself feel? Drop it in the comments, no explanations required. And if you found yourself in one of these profiles today, share this with someone who might see themselves in it too. Sometimes, the most powerful thing is just knowing it's not just you.